Happy Friday, everyone. We hope you all had a safe July 1st. In light of recent events here in Canada, we wanted to pause on July 1 in support of the Indigenous communities. So, Sarah, we're coming to you. It's Friday, but we're back.
We're back on a Friday. So happy Friday, everyone. We're happy to be here with you. We love you so much.
Yeah, we hope everyone's doing well. And
I'm Sarah.
July.
You're This is Rival and Queen.
This is Rival and Queen. We were off to a serious note, as we should be today, and then we've apparently forgotten everything.
But you know what? That is us. Sometimes we start and we nail it, and other times we go off on a tangent.
We just assume everyone knows, but like we might have new people here, so we shouldn't assume, Sarah.
No, and if you're new here, welcome. We love you. As Ashley would say, we are rivaling the unknown to figure out how to live our most queenly lives.
There's so much to learn. I think that's how we say.
We do that every week with a new guest. And this week we got a very fun guest.
One of the best.
We're learning all about wine. And who doesn't love that?
We lifted our wine cans at the exact same time. A virtual cheers to everyone. Hopefully it's not 7 a.m., but we're drinking wine if you're listening.
I mean, if you are listening on Friday at 7 a.m., cheers to you.
Yeah, you're the real MVP here.
You're the real MVP. Ash, we had last weekend the cutest little, we had an adorable weekend, but we had the cutest little day outing in Lunenburg. And I was in love.
We had such a good weekend. We started off playing at Osprey Ridge, which is my family's golf course. We had a lovely time. High Button was there. Plumbers Golf facilitated it and hosted it. And we had, we were just kind of golfing in the mix behind. And then
in the mix behind some great golfers, we had Steve Lund there, who's been on the podcast, Stephen Dixon, who's been on the podcast, Quake Matthews, who will be on the podcast, spoiler, and Dave Sampson, longtime Rival and Queen fan.
I know. We had all the guys.
Today I had a golf lesson, and there's this great clip with Dixon, which is like a hilarious clip where he talks about how he got better, then he got worse, then he got better again. And at my golf lesson today, I just like resonated with that so much. I was like, it's so true. Everything.
Such practical advice from Stephen Dixon. It's so true. I feel like that about so many things, Sarah, and especially golf. Sometimes I play really terribly on the the front nine. And then by the time I get to the back nine, I'm like, oh, I remember for 3 holes. then I fall off again. So wise words.
Wise words from Dixon. Thank you. And it was so funny because I was like, all of these people there that we were golfing with, and I've probably never played as poorly in my life, but I wasn't upset about it because I'm like trying to change things, but it is like infuriating.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not fun when that happens. And people are probably wondering why we were talking about golf so much, but we really enjoy it. It is something that you can kind of like, I don't know the word, just push yourself and try something new and figure it out, which is kind of half of the battle. Once you figure it out, it becomes much more enjoyable.
And like, if anyone doesn't want to golf because they're embarrassed of being bad, just know that you could not be worse than I was on Friday, but you still had a great time. I had a great time.
Okay. You weren't that bad, but I think because I've seen you hit the ball better and you weren't, that it was like frustrating.
It was, but it's because I'm trying to change not everything. But
I know. And that is a big problem that was happening to me a few weeks ago. I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I think I'm doing this, but then I didn't think about my hands. I only thought about one thing and then I was able to play. So I think it is just like finding that one thing that you need to fix and only do that, not 5 things.
And that's exactly what our golf instructor, Joe at Brunello, shout out to him, told me today. And today I had a great time, and it goes back. You got to practice. So tomorrow I'm going back to the driving range to practice before our golfing this afternoon, actually.
Yeah. We've got a big golf weekend this weekend. So yeah.
But I will recommend, if you are curious about golf, get lessons. I think it's worth it. Like, just be taught how to swing properly. I think it's worth it.
Yeah. And they're not expecting when you go and you tell them, I'm a beginner or I don't know how to play golf. I don't even know what any of the clubs do. You just tell them that and they're like, okay, you're a beginner. It's fine. It's like learning how to swim. If you go, don't pretend you know how to swim if you don't. You start with the basics and you work your way through.
It makes such a difference. He like adjusted my hands today, and I can't get over how much easier it is to actually swing and hit a ball when someone's like, here's how you do it properly. And then you're like, oh, this works.
Yeah. And how else you wouldn't know, you know what I mean? How else would you know if someone didn't show you? So that's awesome. Can't wait. We're going to be swinging, hitting the lights out, swinging the lights out. I don't know.
Who knows? We'll be chipping, putting, chirping. Shout out to Plumbers Golf. We love them. Anyway, we're really on this golf train now.
We're in. And I'm really actually looking forward to going on a girls' golf trip. Like say if we went to California or Arizona or
oh, I
don't know.
Have them planned. Are you?
No.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, yeah, Bermuda. I don't know. Cause Kara, shout out to Kara Kim. And I know Laura and some girls have gone, they went to Bermuda. Mm-hmm. Yeah. On a golf trip and they went golfing. And I used to think I would never do that, but now I would totally do that.
Totally. And one of their friends picked up a husband there. So shout out.
Yeah. Lindsay and Callum.
Lindsay. There you go. We love that. So we hope someone else is as into golf as we are. If not, you know, I did buy golf shoes today though. So now I feel extra cool.
It does help. It does help.
And, you know, just looking good. That's 90% of the battle in my mind.
I find most of it's for if the ground's a little slippery or when you swing, if you slip a little bit, it definitely helps you feel a little more planted, if you know what I mean.
I'm just doing it because my feet got wet when we go.
Yeah, that as well. Okay, Sarah, before we dive into talking about our very special guest, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
I've had this note lately and I keep forgetting to bring it up. Okay. Do you ever go down rabbit holes on Instagram or social media?
Totally.
I have been lately so much. And I'm like, why did I just waste 20 minutes doing this? I have no idea.
I did this yesterday because of a post that Ryan Rumbold posted. Tell me what you've been rabbit holing on.
Okay. So I made a note of this because I was like, I just wasted so much time. 2 celebrities that are kind of like big 90s celebrities. One was Brian Littrell. Like I went down a rabbit hole of his Instagram and then I got into his wife's Instagram and I'm like, what am I doing?
I love it. Is he from NSYNC?
Backstreet Boys.
Oh, dear God.
Brian, you know,
let's
the main
pretend
singer.
no one heard me say that.
You just had a brain like moment.
I'm embarrassed.
But then I realized his wife, Leanne, is much older than him. I think probably when they first started dating, it was not as evident and like no shade. I'm just saying she's definitely older. And they've been together for 23 years. And it says that they met on As Long As You Love Me. She was one of the girls in the video, and that's how they met. So I thought that was cute. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't go down that hole. And then the other one, like this was in a few days of each other, was Travis Barker, because the Kourtney Kardashian. And I like looked through his whole Instagram because I'm just trying to understand their dynamic. I don't know. Anyways.
There's some great memes on this of like, this is like your high school rebellion, but I think they look like they're having a great time. That one's caught me. I've been down the Travis Barker.
Cause I kind of forgot about him.
Well, I was never a huge Sum 41 fan. I just like, or was he? No, he was Blink 182. Mm-hmm. Which one?
Blink 182.
Yeah, right. So evidently I know nothing.
I think he was in a few others too. And like, I would see him occasionally. Jeff's more into music or like rock. I don't know what you define that as, punk rock. And he would be playing drums for certain, because he's like one of the best drummers, I think, of all time. I don't know, at least over in North America. But yeah, you kind of just forget about him. I don't want to say he's obviously like super famous, but he's not Kardashian famous in your face all the time. So I just find it's like an interesting combination.
If we were into music, we would know him. He looks so cool. Sometimes people with tattoos, they just look really cool.
She tattooed him too.
God love her. I am. But I love this question.
He doesn't need to wear clothes. Like he's fully tattooed. He just looks like he has a shirt on.
Sometimes I'm into that look. Like it really depends.
I want to know more about him. That's why I went down this rabbit hole. But anyways.
I think this is a great Westie or Queenie Graham question. And I'm putting it in. My last one was on design. Because again, I'm still in this design phase of my life. that, as I told you, I've realized is going to be my life for the next month. But, and I went real far down. And, you know, I liked it, but it takes time.
You can save the little pins on there and make a,
I've got 1,000.
Okay.
I know. This is, I don't know. Anyways,
Stay
God love
tuned.
Instagram. Sucks us into the void. It's working. All right, Ash, this week we have the lovely Gina Haverstock on with us, who is the winemaker with Devonian Coast Wineries, who are also the creators of
Our
Louvo.
favorite wine in a can.
Our fave. We love them. But also Devonian owns a bunch of wineries. So here in Nova Scotia, so Jost, Gaspereau Vineyards, and Mercator. So we were so stoked to have Gina on, and we learned she did such a good job at introducing us to how wine is made in a simple way. But we also talked about her kind of unexpected journey into becoming a winemaker. She's got a really cool story. And we also dove into her favorite Louvo and wines, which I think is, anytime you can get a winemaker to recommend like the best wines, it's kind of like an interesting moment. And she answered all of our random like wine questions. So it's a very fun episode. If you are a wine lover, you are going to love it. And you can connect with Gina through Instagram at Devonian Coast, and links to all the wineries are there. And, you know, you can also just go straight to Louvo if you want, at louvo.life, who we love.
Absolutely. And Gina's lovely. And I know Siobhan, who works with Louvo, also told us that she is very humble and has won a ton of awards and is widely recognized. So shout out to Gina. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you.
I think, yeah, being a winemaker for 3
a lot of
wineries
work.
and a different wine label. Yeah, she is a queen.
Yeah, love it so much.
All right.
Well, should we cheers and dive right in, Sarah? Cheers, everyone. All right, we've got a really special guest this week who is like responsible for making our favorite wine in a can. Welcome, Gina.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you here. We're big fans of yours. We have to tell you, every week we're drinking wine that you've had a part in making. So thank you.
Well, thank you, more importantly.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming that we've wanted to talk to you and kind of get to know more about Louvo and all the other brands of wine that you make, Jost, Gaspereau, and Mercator. So
you're a very busy winemaker.
Good thing we have a great team. That's the thing, you know. It's a group effort for sure, but yeah, it keeps everyone on their toes. That's for sure.
That's awesome, and it must be busy because you're producing 4 different wines. So you're literally like running between the 4 wineries. Is that kind of the deal?
Basically, yeah, there's time at every location, and yeah, sometimes I wish I could clone myself, but again, you know, lean on the team and everyone pitches in, so it's great. But yeah, yep, it would be nice to clone.
That would be great. So when we first talked to you, Gina, a few weeks back, you told us your story about how you actually got into making wine. And I think if I can recall, we'll let you tell it, but it had to do with just kind of being in the area near the North Shore and Jost Vineyards, and you kind of just decided to go for it. So can you tell us a bit about your journey?
Sure. Yeah. I actually, for a long time, you know, through high school and into university, I wanted to go to med school. So that kind of was always on my sights. And I decided that instead of going home to my hometown in Cape Breton, where all my friends would be, you know, coming home for their summer jobs and wanting to, you know, have fun and party, and I needed to study for my entrance exam into med school, the MCATs. So I was going to, you know, hide away at our family cottage, which is right in Malagash, right on the Northumberland Strait, and study. But of course, I had to make some cash for the summer as well. So right in our backyard, basically, is Jost Vineyards. I can look out our back window of our cottage and see the vines, and look at the front window and see the Northumberland Strait. So I knew nothing about wine, like absolutely nothing. And went over and said, "Hey, you're looking for some? I'm looking for some summer employment. Are you looking for some summer students?" And yeah, they hired me, and I started to learn about wine. You know, you taste wine, and fell in love with the whole idea of winemaking and all the different flavors in wine. And I guess, as I say, the rest is history. I changed. I didn't apply to med school at all, and then went on to learn about winemaking.
That's so crazy. How old were you then?
Oh gosh, you're gonna age me here.
Okay, we don't have to, but I'm like, are you like 20 or 18? Like,
no, so I had almost finished my undergrad. I was in my third year of undergrad right after, I went from high school right into university at UNB in Fredericton. So what would that make me? What, 21-ish?
Yeah, like 20, 21. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I fell in love, honestly. I stopped like studying all my MCATs, and I bought, I kid you not, like a miniature, this is going to sound so geeky, but a miniature encyclopedia by Jancis Robinson, who's like the biggest wine guru, master of wine at the time, especially. And I just read through from like fermentation and I don't know, like think of anything. And I was just reading it, and I just loved it. I couldn't get enough.
So no regrets on not going to med school. Much different paths.
Yeah, and I think winemaking is great because you're not only, it's a very physically demanding job. You're cleaning a lot, you're lugging hoses, you're in steel toe boots, but at the same time, you're going to really nice wine tastings and really describing wines on the aromatic side and the tasting profile, and that's super fun in a different way. And yeah, so it gives you. And then when you're wine making and you're blending, you're using sort of the art and the science together. So I think it's a good fit for me. It's a really good fit.
I love it. How do you actually become a winemaker? Like, how do you learn? Does someone teach you, or is there like a school? Because I have no idea.
I think
there is a school, but
Okay.
like I have friends that whose parents have wineries in Europe, and they kind of learn as they go. For example, from their parents. Some of them go away to school, but I didn't have the good fortune of having my parents having a winery. So yeah, I went to Brock University. It's in St. Catharines, Ontario, right in Niagara, and they have a Bachelor of Science in it's called Enology and Viticulture, but it just means grape growing and winemaking. So yeah, it's a 4-year program, and I did it in half the time just because I already had a science degree from UNB. So
amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. It sounds like it was just meant to be, which Sarah and I love, that you just kind of happened to stumble upon this career and passion.
Totally.
And
Yeah,
you're still
absolutely.
at the same winery.
Yeah. So yeah, I started at Jost, tasting bar, giving tours and pouring wine and learning as I went along. And I did that for 3 years, 3 summers. And then one of the summers after I had graduated, I stayed on and worked to harvest. So, again, knew nothing and was cleaning a lot and just kind of got my feet wet, if you will, in the cellar and learned about things. And it was after that I said, oh yeah, I want to do this for sure. And then went up to Brock.
Oh, so cool. We love that. So Gina, tell us that we love wine. We're big wine lovers. The reason why and of course we're huge Louvo fans, but the reason why we wanted to have you on was because we know nothing about winemaking and wanted to kind of learn a little bit about what happens when you actually, after you harvest the grapes, how does it go from grapes to wine?
And I just want to say that I think we've all been on those wine tours, especially here in Nova Scotia, which are amazing and so fun. But half the time you've had too much wine and they're taking you into the vineyards and into the cellars, telling you things. I'm like, I don't remember anything. So we're happy you're here to break it down for us.
We've only had half a glass of wine thus far. So
yeah, we should be able to.
We're going to remember
to get into it.
So lucky for you, it's really simple, actually. It's super simple in terms of, once you hear it in a simple way, you'll never forget it. And basically our job as winemakers is to keep everything clean and help the yeast along, but basically yeast do all the work. So yeast take the sugar that naturally occurs in the grapes and eats it basically and produces alcohol as a byproduct, which is what we want. It produces a little bit of carbon dioxide. So, the bubbles that are in your Louvo, it doesn't come from the fermentation, but it's the same compound. It's the same chemical and a little bit of heat. That's it. So yeast eat sugar and produce alcohol.
Sounds so easy.
They're so great.
But I don't think it is.
Or at least it takes a long time.
Yeah, to get it right too.
Well, no, but oftentimes people, I have to admit that, we can get into too much detail when you really just need to stand back and what is actually happening. And that's
Right.
just, that's the easy way to do it. So just talk about it.
We love that. So tell us then, Gina, how long does it take from when you harvest grapes to it becoming something that's has alcohol in it and then is because it's different, and then it's
Drinkable.
and then it's actually drinkable? Like how
Yeah.
long are those periods?
Yeah, so there's a general rule, but some things vary. Sometimes you before you actually start the fermentation, you can hold the grapes at a cold temperature for a while, called a cold maceration. There's a lot of exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, it takes a couple of weeks to a month sometimes, depending on how cold you ferment a white wine. So a white wine, takes a couple of weeks to ferment. And a red wine can take a little less than a couple of weeks, and it's often fermented a little warmer. So as you know, with maybe baking bread or anything like that, if you let it rise when it's warmer, it goes faster, and if you let it rise when it's colder, it goes slower. So just that's kind of the general thing. So we may bring in some grapes in October, mid-October, and we process them, we press them to get the juice, because when we're making white wine, we ferment the juice only of green grapes, and then we often settle it for a day, and then a couple weeks later we have some wine. Now it's not clean and crisp like this, like it's not translucent, because there are still a lot of floating yeast and other things in the wine. So we go through a period of settling and then filtration. But basically, you could have alcohol after a couple weeks.
Ooh. I think I've had wine like that before, kind of out of the barrel, and it's like quite foggy is kind of what you mean, right? Before it's all settled.
Exactly. Absolutely.
With sediment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we feel very fancy when we're drinking wines like that.
Yeah, they'll take it like a siphon and squirt it in a glass. Very cool.
So you have been on wine tours, I hear. Then
I have. My
definitely
brother used to date someone their family owns a vineyard and stuff. So I didn't absorb much information. I just enjoyed the wine.
Well, there's a lot coming at you. You're looking around, you're seeing all these crazy things, barrels, and yeah, I get it for sure. I remember being in your shoes, going into Jost, going, holy cow, I have no idea what I'm doing here.
Totally.
But yeah, so I've seen the other side too.
So I didn't realize alcohol was made that quickly. Like the wine has alcohol that quickly. How long then do you let it sit before it becomes drinkable?
Well, it depends on which wine, what we're making. So if we're making a white wine like Tidal Bay, that's a great example. Tidal Bay is our appellation wine. It's meant to be drunk fresh, fruity, in the height of summer, and it goes really well with the seafood and shellfish. So it's a natural tourist attraction, I guess, and local attraction. I think Tidal Bay, how I like to talk about Tidal Bay is it's basically a taste of Nova Scotia in a glass. Put simply, aromatic, lowish alcohol, a little bit of sweetness, but not very much when we say dry-ish, and yeah, aromatic forward and terroir driven. So it's really great. Anyway, a wine like that would, the whites would be finished. Some of the later harvested whites that we put in the Gaspereau, for example, Tidal Bay, come off in November, early November, and they'll be finished fermenting probably by the end of November for sure. We go through a blending process. So we take, say a glass and then blend the different proportions of the varieties that we use for Tidal Bay. And then sometimes as quickly as by February, we have it in the bottle and it's going out the door. Wow. So that's a really quick turnaround for whites.
So it's 3 months.
It can be. I mean, that's rushing. Ideally, it's 6. Let's put it that way. But yes, we've done that. We've done it that quickly before.
So what would rushing it mean? Be that there's just like a more high demand kind of for wines, and you guys just need to get them out?
Yeah. So we've run out, say, of our previous vintage, and we don't want to leave anyone short of title bay.
God,
so
no.
that's the big thing.
That'd be
Gina, don't do
terrible.
that to us.
I get in
That's
trouble
not
if
even-
I do that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get friends calling me and saying, "What do you mean it's off the shelf?" No. So that's also the case with a lot of our rosés as well. Whites, rosés. That's kind of the style we're going for. With reds, it often, we do the fermentation, and I should step back. So I told you that whites, when we make white wine, we ferment the juice only of green grapes or yellow grapes.
Mhm.
So some examples: Riesling, Chardonnay, Lacadie, those different varieties. When we're making rosé, there's a couple of different ways you can make it, but we actually take red grapes and whole cluster press them. So how in like the old Greek paintings where they're holding like a whole cluster of grapes, we put those directly into the press and squeeze out the juice. So it just means that most of the color lives around the outside of the skins in a red grape, pardon me. And if you can basically burst open the skins and get the juice away right away, you don't get a lot of color, you just get a little color. So you get more of a pink color in the juice. And then we ferment that like we do a white wine. So cool and pretty, cool and ready to market basically by the next spring. In reds, we do a fermentation. It's a warmer fermentation, as I mentioned earlier. We ferment the juice, the skins, and the seeds of blue grapes or red grapes. So when you finish a fermentation with red wine, you have skins, you have seeds, and then you have wine in there as well. So you need to separate the skins and the seeds from the wine, and that's when you press it. So red wines, I find, tend to need a little time to soften. We sometimes age them in oak barrels, so they need a little more time. So we're often, a year and a half to 2 years after the vintage before we release.
Oh, crazy. So it's a lot longer. It's like 3 or 4 times as long as
it
a
can
white
be.
wine.
I mean,
crazy.
With the exception of things like Louvo. So the Louvo cold pressed red was released in March. The first canning, happened in March. So it depends on the style, but if you're going for any oak aging or any kind of sort of longer softening time in barrel, you need a little more time. Some wines you want to have fresh and fruity, sort of like if you've ever heard of Beaujolais Nouveau, they always release that the 3rd week in November. So
I was at one of those releases. I lived in Lyon, actually, and I didn't know what was going on. I was walking home from dinner and all the streets were shut down. And then there's like horses coming down and men bouncing barrels. I had no idea what was going on. And it was like going to New Year's Eve. It was like going to New Year's Eve and not knowing what was going to happen at midnight. And at midnight, they like exploded a barrel and then just started handing out free wine.
Well, that sounds amazing.
Sounds like a great place to be.
It was very
So the great thing about being a winemaker is that you get to make wine. The unfortunate thing in the Northern Hemisphere, the unfortunate thing is you never see a harvest anywhere else. So I never see that because I'm in the middle of our busy time. So, yeah.
Well, if you need, Gina, we can go back and do some research. We can take video footage for you so you can see what
Taking one for the team.
Thank you for staying home and making this delicious wine.
I have to say, I did spend some time in New Zealand and Germany and Austria and in France before I came and worked here. So I did have my fair share of running around, but there's a part of me that longs to see a harvest someplace else, just to see it and experience it from a different perspective.
That would be so cool.
So you mentioned the barrels that sometimes, specifically red wine. Is that something we only get kind of those flavor notes, I guess, from red wines, or is that all wines? Like, how does that work?
You can, generally in our portfolio, with the exception of a couple of wines from Mercator, we tended to make our whites fresh and fruity, as I said, and sort of a quick flip, and our reds tend to spend a little more time in barrel. But you can put whites and reds in barrel. It just depends. So I'm sure you've had a Chardonnay, say for instance, from California that's been really buttery and it's had like a smoky oaky note,
Yes.
vanilla, sort of that kind of thing. That also is from aging in oak barrels. So yeah, I guess it's just our style here, generally speaking.
Mhm.
And I said Mercator, we have a couple of whites, one in particular called Sauvage, that is barrel aged and barrel fermented. So it spends time in a barrel, so it has some of that vanilla, that sort of oaky note, that spicy note that you can get from barrels. So
Ooh.
it all depends. So
Mhm.
I'm writing this one down. I'll be picking this bottle up after the
I
episode.
know, I was just thinking, I haven't had that.
okay, yeah, it's not available that widely. I think it might be at the port, and but here at the winery, of course.
Okay.
But I don't know if I answered the question exactly, but barrels can be used for red and white, and they can be used for softening reds and adding tannin, so that drying sensation you get in your mouth from a red, and it can also add flavor. So they can be used for various things.
Ooh.
No, you did answer. Thank you.
What are
Okay.
some, and on that note of flavor, like what are some other techniques for adding flavor to wine? Because like oak is totally one. Are there other methods?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I mentioned always, and didn't really explain why I was mentioning it, but cool fermentation. So a lot
Mhm.
of the aromatics that we taste in our wine can be from the grapes themselves. So if they have a lot of aromatics, you don't want to ferment it warm and kind of blow off all the aromatics, if you will. It's kind of like if you're
Okay.
boiling soup really hard, you smell it all through your house.
Mhm.
It's the same thing for whites. If you
Gentle.
smell it in the cellar really strong, you're probably not keeping it in the wine. So keeping it cool and keeping it a slow fermentation can help retain those aromatics. So that's kind of a technique,
Wow.
fermenting cool. Fermenting in stainless steel or an inert vessel. So stainless steel doesn't add any flavor, where oak can add flavor to the wine. Stainless steel doesn't, so it allows the fruit to speak. I just mentioned the wine called Sauvage, and that is barrel aged and barrel fermented. As I said, it's actually Chardonnay and another variety called Petit Merlot. And not only do we ferment them in the barrel, we also do a process called lees stirring. Sounds
What is
complicated, but
that?
basically the yeast that are still in the wine, the cloudy stuff that when you taste it from the barrel, it can settle to the bottom of the barrel and actually get really clear, or you can actually choose to stir up the yeast continuously even after it's finished fermenting, and it actually adds a richness, a creaminess to the mouthfeel of the wine. So you can get that as well. There's
Oh.
lots of techniques, but those are a couple.
Oh, that's awesome. I never knew that at all. Like, so this is fabulous. A personal, I know you're going to hate this question, but I'd be very curious, as outside of Nova Scotian wines, is there a region in the world that you're really drawn to that you really like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you start tasting wines from all over the world, you do generally have an interest in all the wines. Oh, give me something different. I want to learn something. But I do have a soft spot for Riesling. I spent my first practicum, my first internship in Germany. So I worked at a winery in the Rheingau. So it's on the Rhine River, and overlooking castles and
Oh my
everything
God.
else,
So cool.
and having these beautiful steep vineyards that just go right down to the Rhine River. And most of the wine that was produced at this producer called it was Georg Breuer, was Riesling. And it's really where it sealed the deal for me for Riesling. It's such a versatile grape. It really expresses everything, from the terroir. So the flavor of where it's grown. It can be dry, it can be sweet, it can be, light and fresh, and it can be, complex, and you can make it into sweet wines, sparkling wines. And I love it. I love the flavor profile.
Oh.
So that's my soft spot. And not to mention that when I came back to Nova Scotia after touring around and working in different places, I took the job here at Gaspereau Vineyards in 2006, and we had Riesling already growing and already cropping at the upper slopes of our vineyard. So when I took the job, and at that time it wasn't staying at Gaspereau, it was actually going to Jost Vineyards. And so
Right.
I talked to the then owner, Hans Christian Jost, and I said, listen, really soft and sweetly, I said, can we keep the Riesling here? I really have a lot of experience with Riesling, and I'd love to, work with that grape. And so it happened. And so we've never, the Riesling has never left Gaspereau after that. We've always made a Riesling from then on. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for that one.
That's so nice. I love wines. I haven't had a lot of Riesling, but now you're like inspiring me as you're talking about like the German hills, and I'm like, oh, I need to go try this again.
It's tricky here, though. I have to say, there's some really great Rieslings around, and we don't see a lot of them here, or a lot of them in varied styles. You'll often see maybe a sweeter style. It's not always the case, but so many people that we see at the winery, when we tell them we have a Riesling made in Nova Scotia, they say, "Oh, I don't like sweet wines," right away, because it's what they got accustomed to. But there's definitely a whole world of Riesling out there that is amazing. That we don't see often. So keep on looking and you'll find an amazing one for sure.
That's exactly my thought, was like, oh, I don't think I really love Riesling because I'm associating with kind of a bit more of a sweeter wine. But yeah, okay, we're gonna have to do a little tasting night. So Nova Scotia one.
I think we can handle this.
It's a task we're up for.
Actually, we might have to get Gina to give us a list of Rieslings to try, and then we can have a little Riesling tasting.
I might have to tell you about the Gaspereau Riesling. Like it's got some German influence. It's, I spent some time there, and it's got that true Nova Scotian terroir coming through. I think it's lovely, and it's not too sweet at all. So
Sarah's taking
it's on the list, Gina.
Yes,
we've got the
food pairing is made so much easier when a wine has a nice bright acidity, and I just think Rieslings are so suited for food pairing, various things, other than maybe a rare steak or something like that. It can go with so many things.
Oh, we love that. So Gina, what are some of the big Nova Scotian styles for us to keep an eye out for? Like, what is unique in Nova Scotia?
I think any wine grown in Nova Scotia is, you know what I mean?
A miracle.
in terms of, thinking about Tidal Bay, I said really simply is Nova Scotia in a glass. So the fact that we have a wine here that represents Nova Scotia because it's been grown here. No one else can make that wine anywhere else in the world. No one can make a Riesling taste like a Nova Scotia Riesling. No one can make a Tidal Bay, capture the aromatics that we're able to hold on to here from the grapes. The salinity sometimes that you maybe see in our wines because we're so close to the ocean. We're almost an island. The expression, the bright acidity, everything. I think it's the combo that really sets Nova Scotia apart. But I mean, so Tidal Bay, hands down, is a wine that really I think exemplifies that. Sparkling wines are also a wine style that really capture that bright acidity and aromatics and time. And I think those are great things. And I think often we tend, those, the whites and the sparklings are what we first say, but don't forget the reds. There's some really great, either like the Louvo cold press, fruit forward, easy drinking reds. There's some really complex ones that are great with food. I always find our reds here are super food friendly. So if you go to Italy and you have like a Valpolicella with like a pizza or a tomato based pasta, I think you can replace Nova Scotia wine right in there, and you really see it shine and see the food shine as well. And the rosés. We make lovely rosés, I have to say. And I'm not just speaking about any wines that I make, across the board in Nova Scotia, we just have the climate, the terroir, the grapes that have the expression that really set us apart.
I'm so glad you mentioned the sparkling wines because there's so many. I feel like every vineyard has their own take pretty much, and they're all so good. They're really good. And I love sparkling wine so much. It's my favorite.
I'm with you. And you know, they vary also. You know, you can have ones that have been aging in the bottle for, you know, 7 years, and you can have one that we're aging for 1.5 years. So they also have various styles too, the fresh and the fruity and the more complex and aged. So it allows us to really showcase everything that Nova Scotia can do.
A question I had that I just thought of, is Jost one of the oldest wineries here in Nova Scotia?
It is. It's the longest continuously operating winery in Nova Scotia. So the first winery that opened its doors was Grand Pre, and it's not Domaine de Grand Pre, which is currently open. It was owned by different people, and I think that was in '82, and then Jost was opened in '83. But Jost never closed its doors, and Grand Pre had, so for a short period of time. So yeah.
So we're talking about a fairly new industry then, like just about to hit 30 years old. Is that right? No, 40 years old.
Just over. Yeah, just over 30. Yeah. You know, we have two key players on our team that have been with the company just under and just over 30 years. So the on-site winemaker at Jost, Dave Beardsall, this summer, he's going to be celebrating 30 years. And the vineyard manager celebrated 30 years last year, Sven von Kinsel. Crazy, huh?
That's so awesome. Crazy. I actually went to Jost for the first time last September, and it was so lovely. It's very peaceful there. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
They've got a really nice patio and
good food.
Yeah, little restaurant. Yeah.
Another big question that I have, and I feel like Sarah, a lot of people I feel like do tend to turn their nose up at times at canned wine. I know I used to until I tried Louvo and some other Nova Scotian wines that are in cans that are like very delicious, easy to drink. So what is the difference between wine in a can or wine in a bottle?
So I would argue, since we've been putting wine in a can, a couple of different varieties. Guys, do you see the sun on my hair? I feel like I have these crazy highlights. Do you see that?
Well, you're down in the valley right now.
Make a note of that.
But you look, we think you look beautiful. You're like radiating.
It's foggy. It's foggy now on the harbor in Halifax. So we wish we were in the valley with the sun.
Oh, totally. My gosh, I lost my train of thought. Where were we? I'm sorry. I
wine and bottled wine.
Right. What's the difference? So we have to actually take, I would argue, even more care putting a wine in a can than we sometimes do than in a bottle. Yeah, we're really conscious about keeping air out of any kind of movements. We're really cautious about any kind of preservatives, anything like that. So, you know, honestly, it takes a lot of care putting a wine in a can. You can't just throw wine in the can and then, you know, and put it in the bottle and then put it in the can and expect the same result. So, yeah. And I think this is me being from Nova Scotia, and you know how we always look outside to sort of get confidence or get sort of reaffirmation of what we're doing. You know, last year, before COVID hit, my husband went for a trip to California, and he went into just a grocery store because they can sell wine in the grocery store. And he took a video and he went up and down several shelves, like huge, long, like 20-foot long shelves full of high quality wine in a can. High quality.
I love that.
I guess that was a year ago, January. Yeah. So, so you know, I think often people think it's the low end wine that goes into a can, or that it's I don't know, like bastardizing wine. Yeah.
I think people think like homemade wine style or something. I feel like that's what I thought, that it's just like a different way to make it.
Well, I used to think of it similar to how I thought of box wine. But now I also don't think of box wine that way, because Jost has a fabulous box wine. There's also a French rosé that comes in a box wine that I really like. And I think
Jost now has a 3-liter bag coming out in a rosé.
Stock up for summer.
Oh yeah. It's pretty tasty. It's from the 2020 vintage. So you have to try it. It's really great. It's just called rosé.
I love that. But I think you're right. It's like, we think if it's not in a bottle, it's not as good. But actually Louvo has changed my mind on that, because I actually love the canned wine so much. But it is like a shift, and it's so convenient.
We all have I always like to call it, and we called it in my sommelier class years ago, wine baggage. So, you know, you see a certain bottle you know, with a really nice label, and you expect it's going to be really great. And you see a can and you think it's going to be, you know, maybe not so great. And we all, you know, we've all have baggage in different aspects of our life, but yeah, we have to learn to check it at the door and just taste the wine. And I know you guys love it. So I'm really happy for that, for that.
Well, I think that's one great thing that Louvo, and like, we don't want to, you know, discredit the other Nova Scotia wineries too. Like, a lot of them are doing these cool wines in cans. I think now people are really realizing, oh, these are really good, and are trying them, and they're so convenient.
It's just rethinking wine and making it convenient and accessible all the time.
I know. It's great. And it you know, it doesn't hurt that, you know, COVID, you kind of want single servings often, you know, and sharing a bottle has a different meaning. Yeah, you can easily take it. You can take it anywhere. They can chill really quickly. Yeah, they're convenient and single serving. So it's perfect.
And I've even gone to dinner with my friends at the Mercantile and ordered, because they have Louvo there, and ordered it. I'm like, man, I never thought I would go to dinner and order cans of wine, but like, I'm happy about it.
We love it.
Super high quality stuff. I'm telling you.
Super high quality. Yeah. We have a couple of rapid fire questions for Gina, but before those, I do have one last question. I'm very curious how climate change is affecting winemaking for you in Nova Scotia, because it's I don't know, but I feel like it's getting hotter here in Nova Scotia. Is that changing like the styles of wine you can make, or how is it changing your job?
Yeah, a really good question. What we see most with climate change, I mean, generally, you know, you're seeing that the temperatures are getting warmer, slightly warmer. But the issue is, so, you know, that's generally a good thing. But the issue is that the weather is becoming more and more unpredictable. So we're getting crazy storms in the, you know, right in the middle of our harvest season. You know, we're getting more frequently, you know, these tropical storms that come on shore, and, you know, hail, and, you know, crazy windstorms and rainstorms. So it's the unpredictability of the weather that is really making it challenging with climate change. You know, rising sea levels, there's a whole lot of stuff. But I think generally people always think of the good things. You know, it's getting a little warmer, as you would imagine, because it feels like it. We were 27 degrees today here in the valley, and it's not even July. So I think. I think that in some seasons the warmer temperature will make for a softer and rounder vintage. The acidity might be a little lower, and so it maybe makes it more approachable. But it's that crazy weather that we can't predict that makes it super challenging.
Interesting. I didn't think of that.
Because and then we randomly, I feel like last week there was like a serious frost warning too. It had been really, really hot, and then they were like, taking your plants, like there's a really crazy frost coming. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, in 2018 we had a frost that was so bad we call it a freeze. That it was so cold, and it, prior to it, the weekend before, it was up to 30, like in June, early June, and really strange. And then we had, you know, this crazy frost that was a freeze event. So it was so cold that it was considered a freeze. So those kind of events we don't like, because you can actually wipe out a whole crop. You know, some people lost nothing to some people lost everything. It depended on where you were and how the frost hit. For the frost, the frost threat, which didn't happen, we didn't have a frost a couple of weeks ago that you were saying. We actually even had, you know, you have burn piles around to try to create some heat. We even had a helicopter potentially booked, so that if it got cold enough that he would come around and fly his helicopter over the vineyard just to stir up the air, to try to get the warm air that sometimes is above the sort of a higher in the air, and bring it down toward the vine so that it wouldn't be as cold. So it's it's crazy.
Do you want to take a moment, Gina, here to just adjust so you can sit in a way you feel comfortable?
So I'm like, blind. Are you blinded?
The sun, look at this.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm so jealous because it's so foggy.
It's so foggy here. Take a moment and adjust, and then we'll just ask you a couple of questions to wrap.
I don't know how I'm going to do this, guys. Let me know if you see.
You're like an angel.
Oh, that.
I know. See, it's really bright though. I don't know.
That's not bad. It's actually not bad that direction, but you do what you are comfortable with.
I'm just holding it, so I'm going to have to move it. down. Let's see.
I have
Thanks,
to say,
guys.
I
Sorry
wanna,
about that.
No, don't be
Sarah's
sorry.
mom sent her these glasses, Gina, that are those, like, you know, the ones you used to freeze that are like water, but these ones are like a gel. And I
Okay.
feel like I need to buy these.
I know, I saw them.
The
I'm
first
gonna
ones
have to
were,
get
like,
you some.
cold.
I know.
Yeah.
So I
Anyway.
have a question for you. I don't know if this is good here, this lighting, but out of the can or out of the glass? What are generally the way you drink the Luvos? Or
Usually
any
always
wine?
out of a can.
Out of the can.
Yeah.
But Sarah just like brought these fancy, well, and honestly,
And they're not ice cold. Right
yeah. Siobhan dropped off a box earlier, and I said to Sarah, "Oh, they're not super cold." And she's like, "I've got the right thing for these glasses."
I've got a cold glass. It's kind of like the beer glasses in the freezer, you know, you can just.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, these have the gel in them. They're kind of cool. But normally we drink them out of the can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always interested because
I like
do
it.
people often see? Yeah, I do too. I actually, any kind of any beverage in the can, I don't mind drinking it from the can. So yeah.
I'm with you. All right. What we're just gonna ask you.
I may have stole a few of the questions.
No, that's perfect. I was just thinking of asking, we've covered these, just these two, and then we'll go right into the wrap.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
play a game.
Okay. So we're going to start recording it now. So Gina, so one question I want to know is how old are the grapes before you start harvesting them? Like how long do vines grow?
Yeah, so usually 3 years before they have a light crop, and then by year 5 they're 100%. So if you're trying to predict what is going to be the big wine in 5 years, you have to plant it now. It's crazy.
Wow.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay, and now this will be a controversial question, surely, but we want to know.
Hard hitting.
This is very hard hitting. What is your favorite Louvo wine?
You might as well be asking me which child is my favorite, and I've got 2.
I know.
Oh,
depends on the day, right? The mood,
it does.
And the vibe.
It does depend on the day, the food or no food. So I'm going to answer diplomatically because I don't want to rock any boats. Just in case anyone's any of the Louvos are listening. No,
They're listening.
So I love the rosé. I think the aromatics, it's kind of like a typical wine. It's 11% alcohol, sparkling, and a lovely rosé that shows off all those sort of red fruit
11%.
Yeah.
Because now I'm looking, like you just, like I didn't hear anything after that, because now I'm looking, you said earlier that the Muscat mint was lower in alcohol. So that's 7.5 and the rosé. So no wonder when Sarah and I drink 2 each, we're drunk.
Well, 2/3 of a regular bottle of wine if you drink 2 of the rosés.
I never even looked at the percent.
Can I tell you a story that just hit me? When I was 21, I used to go to or 22 to Cannes for the TV festival. And of course, the south of France, rosé is so popular. That's what you drink. And I remember being in this meeting with this like television executive person. And she was telling us that, rosé is so great because it's got a lower alcohol percentage. So she like finished a bottle and a half at dinner. And then of course was blackout drunk. Because it doesn't actually have a lower percentage. Like I checked the bottle and was like, I don't know what this woman's thinking, but she thought it was like significantly lower. It was just downing it for,
11 compared to 14 or 15 in southern France is a difference, but still 11's a lot.
Oh my gosh.
That's a big one. Oh my. So I love the rosé for, kind of classic wine with sparkle. I think it's lovely, but I love the innovation behind the Muscat mint. It was kind of a, we were trying to come up with some cool flavor combinations, and we tried actually cucumber at one point. We trialed a whole bunch of different stuff, but mint is where we landed. So fresh mint, just like a mojito, and the Muscat has generally a floral aromatic. So we really, I love that because it's so innovative. And sometimes you want a still wine. So you get a still white in there, the Lacadie Pinot Grigio, of course, right?
We love it.
And then the newest Louvo line. I heard that you folks are fans of this, the cold pressed red.
We're obsessed because I don't normally drink any red wine in the summer. And now I'm like,
and I like chilled wines typically. And I forget, we were talking to someone the other day that loves Louvo, and they're like, I drink all my Louvo out of the can, but for some reason I pour
Jody Guthrow.
Yeah, but it was Jody who works with LUVO,
Right.
and she said, but for some reason I pour the cold pressed red into a wine glass. For some reason, I was like, oh,
So
I think I've only drank it out of the can.
I think we need to start like an ad campaign. Like, how do you drink your Louvo? Like, what was the other ad that's like that? Anyways, I'm losing. I'm forgetting.
But I'm always interested to see how many people drink it out of the can and how many people actually pour it in a glass. And
we'll take a poll on our Instagram. We'll try and get some deets.
Let us know. That would be great. I'd be very interested to know.
But I do see like a lot. So we go boating a lot. We're huge boaters, go to the beach on the boat with friends, family. And I feel like everyone, if they throw these in the cooler, just drinks them straight out of the cooler in the can. So it's very convenient.
They're in a vessel to drink from. Why put it clean? Like, why dirty another one, right? You know?
Yeah, we like the practicality.
We're so practical.
I love it.
Well, this has been so informative and so awesome, and to get to know you more. And I love that this journey kind of like, that's what I keep going back to, but it just seemed like you've been here for so long and you've committed to this beautiful career. And like, we love wine.
We love wine. And it's so nice to learn.
Much fun.
Yeah. And just to be able to talk to you about it. And you're involved with kind of 3 different vineyards, 4 different wine, like labels. And it's fun just to hear your experience and learn from you, Gina. We really appreciate that.
Lovely. And thank you. That was super fun. And I learned a lot too. And I'm really interested to hear this Louvo poll, what comes back from the Louvo poll.
We're going to make a trip down to the Valley soon, I think, and visit. I think Mercator's the only vineyard I haven't been to.
I know I haven't been to Mercator either. So we're going to be coming down. We're going to let you know before we come, Gina, so
just
we
in
can
case
come see
you're there.
you.
We're big fans of the Compass Rosé. We definitely love that. So good.
Yeah, I think I showed you. I have that here. That's right here. Yeah.
I love that.
The 2020 vintage is really, tasting great right now too. So the new vintage. Mercator is quite new. So of course,
I'm from
I
the
understand.
Valley.
You're from the Valley. Where are you from?
Yeah. So I'm from Middleton. So deep past Wolfville, but growing up, there was Grand Pré that you knew of, but it's been so cool to see kind of like the evolution of the Valley, just with the whole vineyard and wine culture and lots of different
explosions, right?
Yeah.
So if you come to Mercator, we always call it rustic chic. So there's there's some glass with fine lines, and then there's some like rough sawn wood, and it's a really cool, and it's an old farmhouse that's been completely renovated right down to the studs and then built back up. So it was super cool, and so come and see us and let me know.
We will, for sure. Before we wrap though, Gina, Ashley's got a question for you.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I do.
Hot seat.
No, we would love to know. It's summer, you're busy, it's wine, like people are coming to the vineyards, but what are you excited about right now, Gina? What's lighting you up?
Ooh, okay. So the family cottage that I told you I hibernated in to study for my MCATs and then fell in love with wine at Jost. It's still in our family. And so my husband and 2 kids and I are heading there in early July. And we spend a couple of weeks of, saltwater, relaxation, friends, and, getting out and getting on our bikes and running and just getting out and being active. So I'm really looking forward to that on the family side. And on the friend side, a friend and I are hiking, a couple friends and I are hiking Cape Chignecto after our summer cottage little stint. So yeah, it's
awesome.
Those are my things I'm stoked for. A lot of stuff really close to home, of course, because it's kind of forced on us. But if I had the chance to travel anywhere in the summer, I would go to our family cottage. It's gorgeous.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Well, Gina, last but not least, we're going to play a round of Queenie Grands. It's a made up game. It's so easy. All you do is pick a number between 1 and 117, and we're going to ask you a question, and then we're all going to go around.
Okay. I choose 47.
47. Ooh, what are you most self-conscious about?
Oh my Lord.
Just an easy
Do you have an
one.
hour? Do you have an hour?
We'll start the therapy session now.
Oh my gosh, hot seat now. Holy, the other one wasn't a hot seat at all.
No.
What am I most self-conscious about?
You can make it something funny and light.
Yeah. I'm not going to dig deep into the.
Yeah, please don't. We've never come across this question.
No.
Why did I pick 47?
Do you want to pick a different one?
I don't know. Throw me another one and let's see. Okay, can I give you a different number? Let's just.
You can give us a different number.
Okay, 61.
61. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go. If you could date any celebrity, who would it be?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I like that one. So I have this thing for curly hair, and so if it was just simply based on looks, or does it have to be based on personality?
No, you can make it, Gina. This is your question. You can answer however you like.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm
Go with your
blushing.
gut.
What's up?
Go with
your gut. Like,
Go with my gut. So I've always found. Oh my God, I even forget his name.
do you want this one?
He was married to Reese Witherspoon.
Ryan Philippe.
Yes,
Okay.
Ryan Philippe. Oh man, the curls and but I mean, I have no idea what he's like as a person, but I find him pretty attractive.
What was the movie? Was it Cruel Intentions?
Cruel Intent. We should rewatch that movie, actually.
That's a spicy movie.
Spicy is a good word. Ash, how about you? Who's your celeb? What celeb are you dating?
I think it's a hard one. I want to say Ryan Gosling.
Oh,
I just love him. The Notebook, and I loved Breaker High.
Breaker High. That was great.
He just seems like adorable and cute, kind of bashful.
Bashful. That's a good word. Ooh,
I like that. He's quite reserved in a way.
Yeah, like I think he actually is like off the scene right now and is kind of doing family.
I know. I think he's an interesting cat. We like him.
Yeah. He's Canadian too, I always know these.
Yeah.
We love the Canadians.
We're getting what's yours, Sarah? Is it gonna be one of these older kind of, I feel like ours are around the same, like they're
era? No, my
childhood stars.
Oh, I think, do I need a childhood star? If I need a childhood star, it's like JTT.
Oh yeah. Devin Sawa.
Oh, Devin Sawa. He's a good one. I wonder where he is these days. We might be able to actually date him.
You need to look these guys up.
I would pick Richard Madden. He's Scottish, I think, but he's such a babe. He also has curly hair, Gina.
I better look him up. See what he's done lately.
He's a super babe.
Okay. I'm game.
I love that. Ash, you want to pick a number?
102.
102. Here we go. If you could be in any celeb's entourage, who would it be? Oh, this is great.
If I could be, okay.
You're in their entourage. Gina, you're gonna have to answer this one too. So
I'm gonna say people might not like this, the Kardashians.
Oh yeah.
Just because I feel like I really want an insight into their life. Like I want to see what's going on. I want to go to all the amazing places they get to travel. Just to be selfish.
Oh, I know who I'm gonna pick. Gina, do you know who you're picking?
I think so. You're gonna laugh at me, but I'm gonna pick it anyway.
Let's hear it.
No, you go ahead. You go first.
Okay. I'm really into Sophie Turner. I think she's hilarious. Also Game of Thrones. This is like and she's married to one of the Jonas brothers, who I was never a fan of. Like I was kind of,
I think we missed
too
that.
old.
Yeah.
We missed them. But now they seem really funny. So I'd like to be in their entourage.
She's beautiful.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was in the New Kids on the Block era. So there, I aged myself right there. Yeah.
That's okay. We love it.
That's amazing.
But that was just the time. I'm gonna say Justin Timberlake, because he's an amazing dancer, singer, artist, and I think it'd be super cool.
And his wife's Jessica Biel, so I mean, they probably have a pretty good.
They seem fun
crew.
too.
I know. I watched her. She produced a Netflix show. What was it called? Oh my God, amazing! You should look it up.
Sinner? Mark, the producer, says.
Oh my
Sinner.
God!
I don't want to take credit for knowing the answer.
Mark, thank you. He's with you, Gina. He you said that he looked up and was
He
like,
checks us.
It is awesome. I watched all 3 episodes and I could not turn it off. It was amazing.
He's giving it a thumbs
All 3
up,
story
so
seasons.
we'll have to check it out.
amazing. All right.
Answer.
I'm gonna go with 108. If you could eat any cake flavor, what would it be?
Oh, I like this one.
Ooh. I'm thinking traditional cake. Mark's looking at me in a funny way, so I've done something. Who knows? Probably my voice is too deep. I'm gonna go with a marble cake.
I was just thinking marble. I was actually like, I pictured marble because it's like you get the best of both worlds.
Chocolate and vanilla.
Isn't marble like not making a decision though?
Yeah, but Gina, sometimes we don't like to make
We're
decisions.
bad
I'm with you.
And like I love a soft serve, a swirl.
Oh,
You get half vanilla, half chocolate.
I think swirl's the way to go on soft serve, Gina. So I think not making decisions sometimes is the best.
I love
have
not
to
making
make such a
decisions, actually.
concrete decision?
All right, what would you pick, Gina?
I'm classic. I'm even more classic than the marble cake. I'd say like a really yummy pound cake with like butter cream or butter icing, buttercream icing.
Yes, that's
straight up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'm gonna say chocolate cake, but I don't like things too sweet. Now, Sarah made me a beautiful chocolate cake for my birthday, which was amazing, with very specifically boiled icing, if you know.
It was not my recipe though, it was from your mother.
I know, but it's so good because it's not too sweet. It's
it's good.
I like it to, I don't like really, really sweet things, but I'm with you on the vanilla pound cake. That's a good choice.
I know, I love
Nice little coffee.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we need to make. Oh no, I'm starting to juice cleanse more, so I won't be making any
get cake out of your head.
Yeah, no more cake.
Get that right out of there.
Carrots. Let's think carrots and other things.
Cucumber.
Cucumber, yeah, better. Celery.
Oh, Gina, this has been so great, and we're so grateful to have you on with us today. Like, thank you.
My pleasure.
This has been awesome.
So, and we want to know if people want to kind of follow the vineyards. Can you just tell us again which ones that they can go on Instagram, Facebook, all the places? We'll also put them in the show notes too.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Jost, Mercator, Gaspereau, and Louvo, right?
Yes, exactly. And they all have Twitter, Facebook, and obviously websites. But yeah, so yeah, I don't want to list them all here, but if you do a quick search, you'll find them all.
Perfect.
So many.
We love it.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Gina.
Thank you. That was wonderful.